शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये दक्षिणामूर्तिसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गणपति बप्पा जय श्रीराम। So one of the common things that all of us, I'm sure, face as a question from a lot of our friends, relatives, or maybe the liberal thinkers, the leftists that we have in our lives, is how many times will you really read Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Puran, or how many times will you listen? Something that we do quite often, right? Ramayana is not something that you all are hearing for the first time. I'm sure all of you all have heard it for so many times from so many experts. You all have read various kinds of books on it. But we still have interest in it, we still read it, we still listen to it. So what is it that holds our interest? And we don't do this with any other books or movies, we don't watch movies more than once. We don't read books more than once. So what is it that really holds our interest? So basically the storyline, of course, the storyline is very interesting. Mahabharata is, of course, if Ramayana is X, I shouldn't be saying this, but if Ramayana is X, Mahabharata is 10 times X, right? It's extremely interesting and enraptures us completely. So what? We have daily chapati bhaji, right? Or a South Indian would be what? Rasam and rice. Do we get bored with that? We don't. It's a staple diet, right? We have it every day, but we don't get bored. Actually, when we go out and continuously have for 3-4 days, then we long to come back and have the dal bhat or the chapati bhaji or the sabji that's prepared at home. So Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, the more we listen, the more interesting it becomes. 1. 2, across age, the way we grow in age-wise, stage-wise, it gives us different messages. So when we were probably children, we took a particular kind of a message. When we were young, before marriage, it gave a different kind of a message. When we got married and freshly in love, it gives us a different message. Right? When we read the same Ramayana, same Mahabharata, it gives us a different message. So or maybe when we are middle-aged, as we grow old, we start gaining and having a different perspective and different messages coming out of the same text, out of the same script. And that is the power of these Puranas, or that's the power of these Itihasa Puranas. I thought I'll quickly cover on the reason why we have that interest to listen to it again and again. We all know the story. But what differentiates between two stories is the minute details that come out of that. So a particular speaker or a particular book would have laid emphasis on something, while a different book might lay a different kind of an emphasis. Which is what I've tried to kind of combine across and try and present it in a little detailed manner. So that's the reason I thought I'll just cover. And of course on Hanuman we can keep on talking volumes and it will never end at all. Hanuman is someone we will never fall short of words to describe. And that is the parva that we are in. We are in Sundarkand, where we've completed 3/4, 75% of the Sundarkand. We've seen a good part of the Sundarkand starts with the flight and the obstacles and the landing and his searching and his dejection, his meeting, and then how he actually met Sita, the beauty of his meeting and exchanging of notes, and now they are satisfied that they both have met. Hanuman is satisfied that he's met the person whom he wanted to meet, and Sita is happy that she met somebody other than a demon after 10.5 months, and has got the information that now Ram is actually searching for her, and then each time they are going to come and land at Lanka. So that is where we had ended the story last time. Now the story forward, I might need some time to finish the balance 25% today. So Hanuman, after having exchanged notes, now is hungry. Why is he hungry? Because before he gets hungry, now this is what Hanuman does. He suddenly has an idea. He says, Ma, let's do this. Why don't you climb on me and I'll take you across the sea. We will in one stroke reach the other side and then I'll take you to Ram. Now Sita sees him, looks at his size. You have to remember, he's a small monkey, right? He's just this size. And she says, yeah, okay, I can understand your emotions, but let it be. Hanuman realizes, he said, no, don't worry, this is the size that I have taken for you, but if you don't get startled, I will show you my true size also. And he kind of grows a little bit, double this size. And he says, I can grow to any size, I can dwarf myself, I can grow to any size, I can surely carry on me, don't worry at all, why don't we just go on? So she then says, no, it's not possible, it's a very risky proposition, no helmet, no seat belt, I can't get into a roller coaster ride across the sea and fall down, right? So she says, no. And these are there as a part of the Ramayana. She actually says, I will fall down. Then he says, no, I will ensure that he hold you. She says, no, the enemies, the Asuras will start attacking you and they can also fly. They'll start attacking you, and in your self-defense, when you're attacking or you're holding yourself, I might get fallen off. Or then he still doesn't agree. Then he says, no, I can't touch a Parapurush. A Parapurush basically means anybody other than one's husband, right? So Sita was a Pativrata. Let me cover at this point of time. Generally, we have a feeling that, why do we only call Pativratas? What about Patnivratas? So Ram was a Patnivrata, and we saw that. He doesn't even make friends without Sita's approval, right? And that is a kind of standard that is set for husbands. Ram equally was a Patnivrata, and nobody can touch is being acharashil, being following a particular set of rules in life. And Ram also led the life like that. So actually Ram was one step ahead. Nobody else can touch. Forget even a parastri. Nobody, even his brothers can't touch without his permission. Even his friends can't touch without his permission. The only person who was allowed to touch Ram was Sita. So they were like that. That's a kind of life. That's a kind of sanctity-filled life that they lived. So Hanuman says, no, I'm not a Parapurush. I'm like your son. I mean, a mother riding a pillion on scooty, right? Don't worry, I'll take you through. You don't have to worry at all. Hanuman is very persistent. Sita then says, okay, the true reason, Hanuman, is that Dharma expects my husband to come and relieve me from here, either talking to Ravana or winning over him and then ensuring that he takes me back. Nobody else should be able to take me back because he has snatched me from Rama, and Rama alone. Dharma expects that Rama alone should come and take me from Ravana. So this is something that Hanuman accepts. He says, okay, then I accept and I'll ensure that the news is conveyed. And now you have to remember, okay, Hanuman, the last he ate was maybe previous day's lunch at that cave, right? So he's kind of doing an intermittent fasting, 18 hours, 18:6, he is now hungry. And he's not used to doing all intermittent fasting and all. He doesn't have sugar problems. So he's saying, I'm very hungry. Now that my work is done, my pressure is off. Once you're off your pressure, then you get hungry. So I'm very hungry, Ma, what do I do? So she says, go have, there are a lot of fruits here. Why don't you have fruits to your stomach full? He's a small monkey with some size. She thought he'll just have and go. But this is where Hanuman now improvises. Right? What was his brief? His brief was to go and search Sita and come back. Right? But he is what he is. Hanuman ensures that he improvises at this stage. Now what he does two things. He says, one is, I have understood the geography completely. That is the first improvisation when he was searching. Right? The second improvisation that he does is now, he's saying, having come this far, I should ensure that I should put the fear of God in these demons, and specifically Ravana, that he should now onwards live the balanced part of his life in fear of somebody coming and attacking him. And this is a critical part. Okay, this is a critical part of meting out punishment. Okay, and why do I call this is a critical part of meting out punishment? It's because it's not just killing somebody. It's not if the punishment is pronouncing death and you just go and kill, the person has got relieved, right? He's not lived the punishment and the fear and the life of remorse for the mistake that he's done. So executing him is not going to be the answer. You should allow him a prolonged life where he lives under the fear that he's going to die anytime. And that is a punishment. Of course it has to be followed by death, but that is a punishment that needs to be given. Hanuman decides to give him that punishment. So from now onwards, Ravana is going to spend a balanced part of his 4-5 months that he's going to live in utter fear. And how is he going to instill this fear is what we are now going to see. So Hanuman says, Ma, you go and sit in a corner. A lot of hangama is going to happen now. You hold yourself a good vantage point and then sit securely. Now he grows to almost 50 feet tall, starts plucking the various fruits, he starts eating, he satiates himself, his hunger, then he starts uprooting all the trees in the Ashokvana, destroys the entire Ashokvana, completely gets it grounded. What happens during this process? The demons are they are sleeping, right? They all get up. They all are startled. Suddenly, out of nowhere, something happens. They all startle and suddenly seeing a huge 50 feet monkey. They are all startled and completely running helter skelter. Hanuman some of them try and attack Hanuman. He smashes them to death. Some of them go and meet Sita and says that I saw there was a small monkey and you were talking to them. I thought you had lost your mind talking to a monkey. But what is it that he spoke and what is it that you've done to him? Why is he now killing all of us? Hanuman is in rampage. So Sita is completely closed her mind and she's just praying for Hanuman and his safety and is silent. Some of them, they start running towards Ravana. Meanwhile, what happens is, these are demons only to look after Sita. They don't have weapons with them. There's a band of security guard, guarding the entire fence of Ashokvana. There were 25 people who are manning that entire area. They come in. The moment they hear the commotion, they come in. Hanuman in one stroke. I am going fairly fast because Valmiki actually has described how he has killed each of them. But in one stroke he kills all the 25. Looking at this, all the demons in the garden now run helter skelter. They now run. Some of them reach Ravana. Ravana, and they go and say, "There's a." Look at the news. They have what news they have to give? They have to give a news that there's a monkey who's destroyed the entire Ashokvana. And Ravana, why will even believe that? So now they're saying there's a monkey, and the entire Ashokvana is destroyed. He's killing demons. Then it's a small problem. Why are you even coming to the CEO? Operational issue. Solve it. Ask your manager to solve. Why are you even coming to the CEO or the managing director to solve some small problems? No, you have no idea. That guy is so huge, he's killing all the guards of Ashokvana are killed. So he looks around. He's got a set of personal bodyguards, like the black commandos that you have for RPM, or you have these secret service, right, for the US, POTUS, President of the US, right? You have the secret service which protects them. It's a cell of people who are given the charge of protecting the main person, and they have nothing else. So if there is an attack, they will ensure that they first protect him at the cost of even their own lives. So he's also got an elite force, like a black commandos, and he says, go and see what the problem is. So some of them stay back, and then about 10 to 12 people they go, and then they find the entire Ashokvana is destroyed, a heap of trees scattered around everywhere and some bodies lying around. Hanuman is waiting there on the wall, waiting, and there's a huge iron gate which is the entry gate for the Ashokvana. He sees this 10-12 people and he's smiling, and he grows his size double what he was, picks the gate and in one stroke throws the entire gate on this 10 people. One stroke, all 10 people smashed until they're dead. Now this news again goes and reaches Ravana, and Ravana now is worried as to what is this monkey who's killed my guards at the Ashokvana, who's killed my elite force also, and now is really worried about the size and the kind of damage that he's causing. And what Hanuman is doing is, as he's killing people, he's shouting Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Lakshman, Jai Raja Sugriv, and he's shouting these and he's roaring. So now people are also afraid. Now they know from where he's come and why he's come, right? He's come for meeting Sita. And he's kind of making claims that I have come from Ram and I'm going to kill all of you all. All Lankans are going to die today. Now imagine Lankan's state of mind, okay? Good fine morning, they all have got up, they are waiting for their breakfast to be served, they're wanting their teas to be served. And then suddenly there is roar coming from all the sides and people getting killed and Ashokvana getting grounded. So their state of mind is something that all of us might have also experienced, specifically those in Bombay. When terrorists came to Bombay, suddenly out of nowhere, they start shooting. That is the kind of impact that those guys are having from the side of the Lanka. Those people are thinking as to what has come and hit us. Who's this person who's just suddenly come and killing people? So Ravana now comes to know that this particular elite forces also got killed. So he calls Prahasta. Prahasta is commander-in-chief. Prahasta is the person who is the Senapati for Ravana's army. So he calls Prahasta and he says, call your son Jambumali. Okay, that is the name of the son, Jambumali. Now, this Jambumali is basically a person who's got a very bad temper. Okay. Now, this person has got such a bad temper that he used to pick a fight with everybody. So, Ravana and Prahasta decided that he should be immersed in a pond of liquor. So, Ravana actually made a pond of liquor for him, and Prahasta's son Jambumali used to be immersed in it. The reason I mentioned this detail is Valmiki has mentioned each of the demon at this level. I am not going to go into that level, but I just give you an example. So, every character has been discussed. He calls Jambumali. Jambumali in his intoxicated state kind of washes his face and then comes and then stands in audience with Ravana. And he says, Jambumali, go. There's a monkey and there's a huge monkey. He's already killed my elite force also. You have to go and tackle him. Meanwhile, what? And this guy is going to take some time to get ready, right? He is just kind of in intoxicated state. He's going to his room to get ready. Hanuman is not keeping quiet. Hanuman has grown 10 times his size. He's gone. He's now seeing a huge temple, okay, which has got a vantage point, a large gopur on it, and so he thought he'll go and climb that particular temple. He climbs that particular temple and then starts roaring, ensuring that his roar reaches the entire Lanka. The entire Lanka is quaking by fear under his shout. Now what happens is this entire roar, along with this roar, he is also saying that I am equal to 1,000 Ravanas and I can ensure that I can kill all of you all together. Today you all are going to die. I am just a single Vanar and a small soldier in Sugriva's army. There are lot of soldiers like me and many more strong, much more stronger than me. This is what Hanuman says. Now why is Hanuman exaggerating? Okay, why is Hanuman telling something that is beyond the proportion? This is something that I told, right? This is to ensure that the fear of God, the fear of death is put into them. So that when they think in hindsight, when Hanuman goes back, they will think, if Hanuman, who called himself to be a simple Vanar and the entire army can do this, cause this havoc, what will happen if the entire army were to come over, right? And that is the fear he wanted to put. And this, I'll just take a parallel. Okay, so if you all remember, there is this Kamsa story, who happens to be Mama to Krishna, right? Krishna does the same thing with Kamsa also. So what happens is, the 8th child, Krishna, right, is shifted from prison. We all know the basic story plot, right? So he shifted from the prison and is taken out and is replaced by a girl child, okay? Now when Kamsa comes to know that a child is born to Devaki, he comes to kill. He holds the child by the feet and raises to hurl it on the stone to smash. As soon as he raises his hand, she slips out and she goes in the mid-air and then she tells wicked Kamsa, whom are you trying to kill? The son who was to become the cause of your death, or the person who is going to kill you, has already taken birth. This is the news she gives. Okay, and then vanishes. Now one might ask, what was the reason for that yoga? That girl was Yogamaya. What was the reason? Basically, an avatar of Parvati, sister to Vishnu. What was the reason? There was no reason, right? She could have just slipped and just gone away. There was no reason to forewarn Kamsa that the son is already born. Then Kamsa will search for that son and then will make attempts to kill. Why do you endanger that child, right? That is a standard question that we would ask. Krishna was capable of managing himself, there was no worry at all, right? The reason why they did that is because from then on till the time, maybe 12 years, okay, Kamsa continuously lived in the fear of dying. All he could bother about is, am I going to die tomorrow? Is Krishna going to come and kill me? Planning and plotting to kill Krishna. The entire life, he had a miserable life, and this is what happened even to Aurangzeb, okay? In order to quench, in order to defeat Marathas, he spent the last 26 years of his life not in Delhi. He spent it in Maharashtra, trying to ensure that he can suppress the Maratha regime. He couldn't, and he died there in Aurangabad. So this is what happens. The whole fear of death, so that it's not just killing him, it's the entire process of killing him. There's a beautiful story around Kamsa which I'll quickly cover. Sorry for the deviation. Kamsa is thinking of Vishnu and Krishna so much that Vishnu actually gives him darshan in his dream. Okay, and Kamsa Kamsa, seeing Vishnu is a nightmare. For us, seeing Vishnu is a good dream. For him, it's a nightmare. So he gets up sweating and he's saying, I saw a nightmare. What is a nightmare? He saw Vishnu. The rishis asked Vishnu, they said, we do thousands of years of tapasya and you don't give us darshan, and you are so hell-bent on giving darshan to Kamsa, who is only thinking of killing your avatar and is so opposed to you. Why is it that you did that? He said, I can't do anything else because he is so immersed in my thought. He continuously only thinks about me. I had to give the darshan. But there's a difference. When I give a darshan to y'all, for y'all it's a pleasant dream or it's a pleasant darshan, y'all are happy about it. Unfortunately, when I gave him a darshan, he was afraid of me, he found it as a nightmare, right? So there's a difference. I'll just cover a quick story on that. By this time, as I covered the story, Jambumali is already fresh and has come, okay? And is now waiting for him. Meanwhile, what Hanuman has done is he's climbed a temple, right? So what has happened in the temple, the sentries there have started attacking and trying to pester him. Hanuman gets down, plucks a pillar and then smashes them. Because he's plucked the pillar, the entire temple falls down. By that time, Jambumali also comes in. He starts attacking. And Jambumali is a powerful warrior. He can even increase his size, decrease his size. There's a detailed battle that is written in Ramayana. But at the end of the day, Jambumali starts attacking Hanuman. Hanuman starts, so a few of the arrows hit his face and his arms starts bleeding. That enrages Hanuman even further. He picks one of those rocks and he smashes his chariot. And there's an iron bar there and he takes and hurls at him like that Chopra who did that javelin throw, right? So similarly, he throws a javelin on him and he kills Jambumali. Jambumali also is now dead. That news also reaches. Now Ravana is still further worried. Now what do? He says, I'll send my 5 generals. So what happens in an army? Well, you have a commander-in-chief, right? And then you have each direction you have one commander. So a general, so a north zone, east, central, west, south, right? He sends all those 5 people. Now the reason I am covering it in this detail is to understand the impact that Hanuman single-handedly caused on Ravana and his army. This will help in the battle later on. These are the people who is already killed, right? So that they are not going to come back into the battle. And it's a major blow to Ravana in the battle. These 5 generals, they all come together. Okay, they say, no, what is the reason for all? We'll go one by one. So, no, go, all of 5 seems to be more powerful. All 5 of them get killed. One stroke. Nothing, doesn't take time at all for Hanuman. Now, Ravana says, I will send my son called Akshay. He's called Aksha, and some of the narrations it's called as Akshay Kumar. No resemblance or relation to the actor that we have today. So Akshay Kumar, okay, he's got a chariot which has been given to him by Devas out of a lot of penance. Young boy, okay, a very young boy, he comes to fight. Hanuman sees from a distance and he says, you are a young boy, you go back, send somebody who's feeling bad because he's going to die. Hanuman surely knows he's going to die. And he actually says this, okay, this is a dialogue that I've taken from a different movie, and he's saying, it is too early in the day for princes to die, he says. Okay, this is a dialogue from a movie called Troy. I don't know if you all have seen. Troy is a movie. Troy is actually an epic written by Homer, okay, who's a Greek author. He wrote 2 epics. One is Iliad and the other is Prince of Helen of Troy. Right? So these are the 2 epics. Small epics are 9,000, 10,000 verses. Ramayana is 25,000 and Mahabharata is 125,000. Okay? But yeah, so Western world feels those are the important epics. So there what happens is, that scene, the specific scene, what happens is, Achilles is a person and his army has come and laid a siege on Troy. Okay, Hector is the prince of Troy, he's a hero, and Achilles is the person who's laid a siege. Achilles is a formidable opponent, is an invincible fighter. Okay, now Achilles reaches a temple and Hector also reaches a temple. This is before the war starts. So Hector has gone to worship, Achilles is gone just to mock them. They happen to meet there, and this was not a planned meet. Okay, and then they have a small fight there. Achilles of course wins because he's a real powerful warrior. He disarms Hector and he leaves and he says, you go back. Hector says, no, if you have started a war, you might as well kill me. This is the dialogue he says. It says, it is too early in the day for princes to die because the battle is not yet started. First who dies? It's the pawns, the soldiers, and then then the important people, the general, and then people, then the prince, and then the king. You know, that's an order in which people need to die. So he says it's too early in the day for the princes to die, and this is what probably Hanuman would have said to Akshay Kumar also. So Akshay Kumar is saying, no, you don't worry about me. I'll ensure that, I'll fight. They have a fight. Now Hanuman is trying to avoid. He's trying to ensure that, he's not really fighting full-fledged. So he's kind of dodging his arrows. He's running this side, that side. But by each arrow that Akshay Kumar is sending, he's becoming more and more fatal. He's becoming more and more powerful. So Hanuman finally decides, okay, I have to kill you. So he ensures that he first throws a stone on his chariot, it gets smashed, picks up a tree, and he just sways it, like a square cut. Just sways it on Akshay Kumar and he dies. He falls 100 feet away and that person also dies. The reason I'm going on this a little fast is because as beautiful Ramayana is to talk in detail, the parts where people get killed, okay, are not something generally one needs to delve in detail. So what happens in Ramayana, Mahabharata, or on Pravachan, it generally gets done in a common area, okay, in a hall or in a temple, So these are the places where Pravachans generally get done. Talking about so much amount of death from a house, okay, is not considered to be auspicious, is what my mother has told, and I would want to believe her. So not only this portion, but even the Yuddha Kand, I am going to kind of cover the more important parts and the highlights in Yuddha Kand than the actual war of who killed whom and how he killed and how he smashed his head. And these are gory details I think we can take the liberty of avoiding, specifically because I would be doing this from my home. So I'm expecting you all will allow me that liberty. So Akshay Kumar also is now dead, and Ravana is extremely upset. His son, his dear son is dead, and for what? Just a monkey who's come and giving a trouble to the entire city. He doesn't know what to do with this. Now what happens is, now it says, okay, this is clearly a problem in hand. He sent his the guards at the one got killed. His 5 generals have got killed. His elite force has got killed. Jambumali, Prahasta's son, has got killed. Now even Akshay Kumar has got killed. Now Ravana is feeling that he should send somebody who is the best so that this entity is killed and this problem is resolved today. So he calls for his eldest son, Indrajit. His name is Meghadoot. Indrajit, because he defeated Indra. Indrajit, hands down, was the most powerful warrior on Ravana's side. He was even more powerful than Ravana. Okay, he was an Ati Maharathi. When I come to the Yuddha Kand, I will talk briefly about the types of warriors that our Puranas talk of. So there's something called as a Rathi, there's something called as a Maharathi, there's something called as an Atirathi, and there's something called as an Ati Maharathi. Okay, and each of them have certain capabilities, they have certain strengths and ability to kill. So if a Rathi, I'll anyway get into details at some point of time. If a Rathi has an ability to kill 12 people, a Maharathi will be having ability to kill 12 Rathis, which means 144 people, right? So that way it will keep on going and it will reach a level where an Ati Maharathi can actually kill a few lakhs. He can have a war with few lakhs of people at one go, okay? That is the power that Indrajit had. So he comes and he says, don't worry father, I'll ensure that this monkey is controlled or maybe is killed. And he goes, he comes with all his arms shining with his chariot. Now you have to understand, Indrajit is an extremely powerful warrior. He is a person who will not get tired. He knows all the astras, that is the divine weapons, and he also knows magic very well. Okay, so he is a person who can use magic also in warfare, and is a person who will not necessarily go by dharma when actually waging a war. So very difficult opponent. Now he comes and starts his battle with Hanuman. Hanuman and Indrajit are an equal match. He is throwing his arrows, Hanuman is ducking, he is throwing his rocks and the trees that are laying around and the pillars from the temple that fell down. Both are a match. Now Hanuman decides, now I have to do something. So he hurls rocks continuously 10 times, and it smashes his chariot completely, Indrajit's chariot. Indrajit also realizes that he's up against an extremely difficult opponent. Now he decides that he will try and use Brahmastra, okay, which is a final option for any warrior. He says, now I'll use Brahmastra. Now I'll take a quick break in deviation here. The Brahmastra technically would have killed Hanuman, okay? But Hanuman had a boon. Why? Because when Indra had struck him down as a child and everybody gave boons, Brahma gave a boon that you will be Chiranjeevi, which means you will live forever. At that point of time, he said you will live forever. And then Brahma realizes, okay, I did a mistake. He says, okay, undo. You live forever, but there is a small request that I do. If at all somebody was to send Brahmastra on you, I request you to kindly respect and be tied down for about 15 to 20 minutes. You respect the Astra because it's in my name. You please respect the Astra. This is what Brahma has requested Hanuman, and Hanuman has accepted that. So the moment Indrajit sends Brahmastra, it becomes, it's like a small thin rope, okay, it ties around Hanuman, and Hanuman gets immobilized. So he kind of kneels down. Now you have to understand, okay, Indrajit is at a distance, okay, Hanuman is at a distance, they have a few meters away. The moment Hanuman kneels down, Hanuman knows that it's Brahmastra and it's about 15-20 minutes of effect. And he's just respecting it. If he wants, he can still break it, but he's going to respect it because that's a promise he gave for to Brahma. The demons from the side, who are watching this, they rush and then they start hurling abuses. Oh, now see, our most powerful warrior has come, he's defeated you, he's going to cut your limbs, you are going to die here in Lanka, you cause so much of problems. This is some group. And then there is a group who are pessimists. They are saying, no, we don't know how, this seems to be a very thin rope that has tied him, he's been hurling trees and he's been smashing temples. He can break this anytime. So what they do in that moment, they get their own ropes and they tie up Hanuman, thinking that their ropes are going to be very tight and Hanuman will not be able to break them loose. So they all tie very tightly all the ropes that they get, and they tie him tightly. The moment they do this, Brahmastra has an ego issue. Okay, the moment Brahmastra is touched and you feel you can tie him better, Brahmastra loosens. So the effect of Brahmastra is gone. Now Brahmastra has a slight ego problem. The ego problem is like, how. So for example, we go to a government office and the clerk is not cooperating. We go there once, twice, thrice. Hey, file ko thoda aage karo. मैं करता हूँ. Then what you do? You try and through influence try and reach to his boss or his super boss, and the super boss half-heartedly says, I know your friend. Okay, I'll talk to this guy. And he talks. अरे इनका काम कर दो. Now that guy gets enraged because you have gone to super boss. He's getting enraged. Why? Because you're trying to push him. Now he further delays your work. Okay. Now that is what Brahmastra does. Brahmastra says, I am now tied and kept Hanuman. You think you can do it by your ropes? Okay, you do. I'll get away. So that is what Brahmastra has done. That rope falls down. Now Indrajit comes. Indrajit comes and realizes that these guys have tied him with a different rope. Indrajit knows that the power of Brahmastra will go away. Hanuman also sees the rope fall. He sees Indrajit in the front. And he sees these demons. These demons are very happy, glee, that they have tied Hanuman. See, that rope was anyway not powerful. It has fallen down. Indrajit says, my God, what idiots that I got in my team. He sees Hanuman. Hanuman sees him. Hanuman knows that he has realized, Indrajit has realized. Indrajit knows that Hanuman has also realized. Hanuman knows that Indrajit has realized that I have realized. Okay. Now, all this in split second. Hanuman just gives a sly smile and but still not opening himself. Now Indrajit is wondering, now he's in tension. He's saying, this is a monkey who could have broken loose out of anything. No, he knows that Brahmastra is also not anymore effective. And why is he still getting bound? So even as he's thinking, by the time all these guys are saying, chalo, let us take him to the palace and present him to Ravana. He's kind of been a menace the entire morning and troubled all of us. So they kind of drag him and take him. And even before Indrajit realizes, these guys have already walked a few yards. So then he catches and he goes ahead, and because otherwise these guys will take credit that they tied him. So Indrajit immediately goes ahead and then leads the procession. Indrajit has continuously got this tension in mind. This Vanar is no ordinary Vanar. He's going to be up to something. As they go inside, Indrajit, Hanuman enters the courtyard. The court is like a huge court. I don't know if you guys have seen Bahubali, right? They show a huge darbar, it's something similar. You can just imagine. The reason I'm giving you examples is for you to able to visualize, okay, as how the darbar would have been. A huge flight of stairs, and then there's a huge throne on top, and Ravana is sitting, a muscular frame, and Hanuman is Ravana, beautiful, really masculine person, and Ravana is spewing fire through his eyes. He's killed his son, right? He's bound to be upset about it. Now, Indrajit introduces. He's saying, "This is the monkey that I've got." Ravana listens to him and then doesn't even look at Hanuman. Okay, and then he's looking at Prahasta, and as he sees Prahasta, and he says, "Prahasta, ask this Vanar, who is he?" Now, Prahasta, his commander-in-chief, is now talking to Hanuman. He's saying, "Vanar, who are you? And why is it that you caused this havoc early in the morning for all of us?" Hanuman then starts off. And now look at the contextual introduction. We saw how Hanuman is capable of giving a contextual introduction, right? So look at this contextual introduction. Now he says, "I am Vayuputra Sugriva Sachiva Ramaduta Hanuman." The single blow, entire message is through. Okay? Vayuputra, I am God's son. Remember, I have the power. Okay? The fact that I am powerful is conveyed. I am Sugriva Sachiva. I belong to the Vanaras. Remember, Sugriva is Vali's younger brother of whom you were so afraid of. Right? So I belong to that clan. And I am Ramaduta, which means you've got Sita, right? I am coming from Rama, her husband, and I am his messenger. Now by saying this, Hanuman has not only ensured of conveying the entire message, he also has ensured that he earns diplomatic immunity. Okay, so what is diplomatic immunity? So diplomatic immunity is something that even exists today. Okay, so if a diplomat, designated diplomat from say US who comes and stays in the embassy, if he gets implicated in a crime, India cannot try him. They have to hand him over back because he's a citizen of US and he's under diplomatic immunity. Okay, you cannot touch him. You cannot try him at all. He'll have to go back to US. Then you'll have to file an extradition arrangement and then get him back. And if you win all the cases, you will get him back. This is something there even today. And why Hanuman had to ensure that he gets diplomatic immunity? Because he's killed people, right? The moment he is killing people, it can be termed as an act of war. And the punishment for act of war is killing, right? So Hanuman ensured that he has to protect himself from that. And at the same time also be able to give the message that he has come to. So he says, I am Ramaduta. He ends up saying Ramaduta Hanuman, which means I am a messenger of Rama. And hence, I am entitled to all the benefits that come with being a messenger. Now, this is a very critical piece of introduction. Now, he further goes on to say, he says, why have I come here? That was the second question. The first question is who you are. The second question is, why is it that you are here? He says, Rama and Lakshmana were at Panchavati along with Sita. Sita got abducted by someone. He just uses the word someone. Sita got abducted by someone. Rama and Lakshmana have approached Sugriva for help. Sugriva has sent teams across the country in search of Sita. I am a part of that team and I came here in search of Sita and I met Sita and she seems to be your captive and hence I am here to deliver a message from Rama. That is what he says. He goes on to further say, he says, I have come as a messenger for peace. Okay? I have got a message from Sugriva as well, from a king like you. There is a message saying that give back Sita with full respect back to Rama and ask for pardon. He is a Karunamurti, he will ensure that you are pardoned. Ravana, remember, vying for somebody else's wife is doom, right? It's going to get doomed to you. No, it is important for us to understand, okay? See, when I do a mistake, right, as an individual, I bear the consequences as an individual. When I do a mistake as a family man, as a head of my family, my entire family will have to bear the consequences. When I do a mistake as a king or a leader of a country, the entire country will have to bear the consequences of the mistake that me as an individual does, right? Depending on the responsibilities that I am playing, the repercussions of the mistakes are far-fetching. Modi does a mistake, the entire country will face it, right? He passes a wrong statute, the entire country will have to face, right? That is how Ravana is. Ravana is a king. Hanuman says you are a wise person, you know Vedas, you know Dharma. Why is it that you are even looking at somebody else's wife? You know that is an invitation for doom. And you are not doing it as an individual, you are a king of your nation. What you do is a repercussion that the entire nation is going to face. The clan of Asuras will get wiped off from the face of earth if you do this. So why do you even do that? And he urges saying that you should return Sita back. Now, this is the message that Hanuman gives to Ravana. He goes on to say, he says, I attacked. Okay, the first thing that I came and I saw Sita, we exchanged notes, we understood that Sita is here. Then I had to deliver a message to you. Okay, I wouldn't have got audience with you because I am just a Vanar and I am sure you wouldn't have given me audience at all. So I destroyed your Ashokvana. That is my crime. I just destroyed your Ashokvana. What I did after that was only self-defense. Your people attacked me and I just attacked them back and they got killed in the process. Right? So he's absolved himself of the crimes. So there is no crime, war crime that is done. He's basically only a Duta who's trying to give a message. And thus he ensures his diplomatic immunity. The moment Ravana hears all this, he is so angry. He says, you impudent monkey, I am going to kill you. And he says, Prahasta, go and kill him. That is the time Vibhishana steps in. Vibhishana is Ravana's younger brother. He says, brother, wait, you cannot do that. He is already claimed to be a messenger. You cannot kill a messenger. You can insult him. You can blacken his face. You can even cut his finger if you want. Mutilate him. You can hurt him, but you can't kill him. Okay, that is against dharma. That is one. Secondly, what benefit are you going to get killing one messenger? Nothing, right? Your message also has to reach Rama and his team as to how powerful you are, as to what is it that you are capable of. So punish him and send him so that he is able to go and give a message of how powerful you are. Otherwise, how can your message reach the other party anyways? So leave him alive. Ravana likes this idea. He says, okay. He realizes that the organ of pride for monkeys is what? Is the tail. Yeah. So he's saying, okay, so let us light fire to his tail, let his tail get destroyed, let him go tailless to wherever he has come from and deliver the message as to how powerful Ravana is. Now they all collect rags, small pieces of small tail because it's just normal size like us. Now they are all wrapping this tail. Now Hanuman thinks of a mischief. So he's saying, okay, tie, increase his tail size. So some more rags. They collect all the rags in the town and still the tail is growing in its size. What happens is they end up using the upper garments of the people who are waiting there in the court, in the darbar, the courtiers. Now it starts from the common man who are waiting there, then the armed fellows, and then slowly they reach the ministers, and even Ravana's own upper garment is now removed and tied. Now this is important, okay? This is important because in Yuddha Dharma, if your upper garment falls down, okay, which means your upper body is exposed, it is equivalent to getting defeated on the war ground. Okay, it is a sign of defeat. If your upper garment falls down, you are got defeated. And Hanuman subtly ensures that everybody is half naked in that entire darbar. Okay, this is a beautiful story here. I don't know if you're Mahabharata, Virata Parva. At the end of the Virata Parva, where Uttara is bragging, you all are aware of the broad contours, right? Duryodhana and his army come to know that Bhima has killed Kichaka, so they know that probably Pandavas are hiding there. So they send their allies to attack from one side, and the entire Pandava Hastinapur army, sorry, not Pandava, Hastinapur Kaurava army attacks from the other side. Virata and all his army is gone to one side, leaving the entire city open. Okay, entire country open. Arjuna, who is now Brihannala as a lady, he says, I will drive the chariot, and they go. I'll just quickly finish this. They go and Uttara tries to run away, and then Brihannala says, no, I am Arjuna, let us go and find the arms from the tree, it is our own arms. and then they come, and Arjuna comes and twangs the bow. His bow is called Gandiva, right? He twangs his bow, and immediately everybody on the Kaurava side understand that it's Arjuna on the other side, right? Okay, sometime we should really cover Mahabharata, an amazingly interesting story, a beautiful story. We should really try and cover Mahabharata at some time if everybody is okay. So what happens is they wage a war. This side it is only Arjuna and Uttara. Uttara now says, I will drive as a charioteer, you fight. So Arjuna is fighting. There you have Duryodhana, Dushasana, Karna, Drona, Bhishma, everybody. And in the entire war, what happens is he leaves an astra by which they all sleep. Okay? Arjuna goes and plucks everybody's upper garments. So there are two rules. One is if you sleep while fighting, or if your upper garments are off, then it is equivalent to defeat. I just thought I will give that example. So it's a similar thing that happened even in Ravana's court. Sorry, where was I? Right. So Ravana's court, now Hanuman is, they are tight. So they said, okay, enough of this fun, let's do something else. So now they light fire to Hanuman's stay. And now they drag him. So they say, no, take him to the city. Let everybody revel at his plight. Let everybody become happy. He's troubled all of us in this morning. Let them go and see what we have done to this person, as an example. So as he walks in the street, everybody is abusing him. Everybody is throwing insults at him. See what useless person you are. You killed so many people, but look at your plight. Your tail is on fire, and that is the power of our king and stuff like that. Hanuman is not bothered. He knows he is there by his volition. He is there because he wants to be there. He can get freed anytime, right? Okay, enjoy. But he's thinking his plan. What else can I do? This news, meanwhile, reaches Sita. The demons around Sita, they say, see, the person, that monkey who had come to meet you, what Ravana has done, he's lighted fire to his tail. The moment Sita listens to it, Sita immediately starts praying for Agni Bhagwan. And she says, Agni Bhagwan, if I am a chaste woman, if I am a pativrata, and if I have never ever even thought about another man in my life, you should protect him. She says, Sito Bhava Hanumanta. She says, ensure that it becomes cool. Not only not being hot, ensure that you cool him. Agni Bhagwan immediately accepts. Multiple reasons. It's because Sita is asking. Secondly, Vayu and Hanuman, and Vayu and Agni are anyway friends. So he's just helping his friend's son. So suddenly what happens is, Hanuman is not feeling the heat at all in his tail. And he's all surprised. He's saying, he takes this as a sign. See, even Agni Bhagwan is now supporting my cause. So he's saying, now I should do something which is at a different level. He's saying, what do? He keeps thinking, and he's seeing a lot of amount of buildings. He's saying, let's do this. So he immediately shrinks his size, gets out of the rope. The moment he shrinks his size, he gets out of the rope, becomes 10 times the size, and then with a huge roar, jumps onto the building. And he laughs and is going across from mansion to mansion, lighting each of the house on fire. Entire Lanka is on fire. Now how is it? We actually read this in the Bajrang Band that we read. It's Jaise Kudi Sindhu Mahipara Surasa Badana Paiti Vistara. This is the Sundarkand part. His travel and what he did in Lanka. Jaise Kudi Sindhu Mahipara. He jumps. Surasa Badana Paiti Vistara. Aage Jai ki Lankini Roka. Mare Ullat Gai Suraloka. He sends Lankini back to heavens, right? Jaya Vibhishana Ko Sukhadina. He saw Vibhishana there. Sita Niraki Paramapadalina. He met Sita. Bag Ujari Sindhu Mahabora. He destroyed Ashokvan. Atiya Turiya Makatar Toda. Brahmastra. He broke the Brahmastra also. Akshay Kumar Ko Mar Samhara. Loom Lapet Lank Ko Jara. Lah Saman Lank Jar Gai. Jai 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 Dhuni Surpur Me Bhai. How's Lanka burning? Tulsidas says it's burning like a candle burns, like a wax, a full place of wax. The entire Lanka is burning. You guys might have seen, I don't know, just for you all to be able to visualize, okay? A very good series called Game of Thrones. Yeah, okay. Completely avoidable for children. Very much high on adult content, but a very good narrative style and an amazing story. Okay, all elders who can digest violence and unwanted scenes should see because an amazing storyline, okay, very gripping storyline. There, in one of the last scenes, the dragon queen ensures that she takes the dragon and she lights the entire city on fire. All people are helter-skelter, all the buildings are burning. And the moment I saw that was when the thing that I got reminded is what would have happened to Lankans when Hanuman lit it on fire. There's a beautiful saying in Tamil. Okay, so one of the persons asked a man, he's saying, Nal pasangalle yar yogyan? He says, Kooramale kolluvakkirunda yogyan, which means, he's saying, out of the 4 sons you have, who's the best? The father says, the son who has the ability to light fire on my own house is the best, which means you can imagine the others how good they are. Now why is that person best? Because he's at least given a chance for you to come out and run away, right? Probably the other sons are so bad that they will just smash them to death immediately. So what Hanuman does is they are giving a chance for them to run away. He's lighting it, yes, but he's giving a chance for them to run away, right? And this is something that I thought I should quickly come back to my earlier point. I do find a lot of liberals and all these leftists saying, wow, Lanka, I mean, he just killed innocent people. Demons are not, all of them are not bad, right? Right, I mean, Lankans are people living. They have not done anything wrong for Sita. They have not done anything bad to Hanuman. Why is it that Hanuman went on burning, right? And this is where I come back to the same point. When a king does a mistake, the subject ends up, unfortunately, ends up into the grind, right? They become victims of the mistake that the king does. And exactly that is what happened. Hanuman burns Lanka to teach a lesson to Lankans, giving them a chance to run away from the house, but they do get churned in the grind. Why? Because it is a king who has done the mistake. It is not some individual person. I thought I'll cover that story also. Now what Hanuman does, he sees entire Lanka is burning. He alights outside near the sea into the shore, puts his tail into the sea and extinguishes the fire. And that moment he remembers, my God, what is it that I've done? I have burned the entire Lanka and Sita is in that Lanka. Right? Then he then realizes, oh my God, what a huge mistake that I've done. And then he says, what do I do now? And just about to leave, he's planning to come back to see Sita if she's okay. As he's in the flight, he hears, this is if you remember I told when Hanuman takes his flight, gods are watching this entire event, right? He hears a few yakshas and gandharvas talking, saying that look at the miracle. The Agni didn't affect Hanuman's tail and Agni didn't affect Ashokvana at all. Every part in Lanka is burning, but Ashokvana has not got disturbed. Hanuman hears this and oh, okay, Agni Bhagwan has at least helped on this front. He's saying he didn't affect me, and he ensured that even Sita is safe. He goes back, he flies back, he goes and meets Sita. Sita is very happy what Hanuman has done. He's taught them a proper lesson, right? Comes, takes namaskar, and Sita says, you are a hero, right? She's saying, and blesses him. She says, this is something that we also listen or we utter in Hanuman Chalisa, right? Ashta Siddhi Nava Nidhike Data Asavara Deen Janaki Mata. She blesses him. Ram Rasayana Tumhare Pasa Sada Raho Raghupati Ke Dasa. Tumhare Bhajan Ram Ko Pave Janam Janam Ke Dukh Bisrave. This is a blessing that Sita does. Sita says you are a hero. You have separated, you have ensured that you joined two separated and longing hearts. Hanumanta, whoever thinks of you, all their problems will get vanished. Not just one birth, Janama Janama ke dukha bisarave, which means you think of Hanuman now, okay? And by turn of events in your next Janma, you are say born in Finland and you don't even know Hanuman is, Hanuman will still protect you. Why? Because you thought of Hanuman in this Janma, right? So Janama Janama ke dukha bisarave, for births together, he will ensure that your sorrow is taken care of. And you are never separated from your kith and kin. So this is the way Hanuman has burnt Lanka. He takes leave from Sita, and Sita as a parting message says, please come back as soon as possible. And Hanuman in his signature style saying, me parat ye, like our Devendra Fadnavis who said, मी परत येईन. So there's a promise. Of course, Hanuman comes back. We don't know that Devendra is coming back to CM position, but Hanuman does come back, and we all know that. So now Hanuman flies out to the seashore. There he finds a mountain called Arishtha. Okay, that's the mountain. There it is a Mahendragiri Parvat, the first flight. On the return back, it is the Arishtha mountain. And he's all happy now, right? At that time, there's a lot of tension. Now he's all happy. So he's flying double the speed and no obstacles also. So he takes a flight and then starts off. And as he's flying, Mainaka mountain is still waiting there, thinking that Hanuman will come back and stay for those 3 nights, 2 days free stay. Okay, but Hanuman again is in a hurry. He wants to now give the news that he's found Sita. He comes, he just pats Mainaka's back, he hugs him with a single hand and flies off. And as he's flying, now he's not even seeing the shore. He's a few miles away. Hanuman is now roaring with happiness. And that roar is so huge that the Vanars on the shore are trembling with fear. They know, what is this? Who is this? Jambavan realizes that this is Hanuman, and Hanuman has seen Sita. The Vanars say, how do you know it's Hanuman? 1, 2, how do you know this roar is so terrifying? We are all trembling in our legs. How do you know that he's happy? And how do you know he's seen Sita? So don't worry, I have seen Hanuman right from my childhood. I know every part of him, and I also know how he roars. So this is how. When it's an infant, when we are infants, our only communication is crying. We cry when our stomach aches, we cry when our tooth aches, we cry when we are in discomfort, we cry when we want something, we cry when we are hungry, right? But a mother will understand what this type of crying is, right? Whether it's hungry, whether it's stomach ache, whether you want something and you are supposed to ignore, a mother will clearly understand from the tonal quality of the cry that this child is asking for something that she can provide. So if it's stomach ache, she will know it, right? And that's a sense that mothers have. Jambavan had that sense because Jambavan has seen Hanuman grow. He knows from the roar that Hanuman is giving that it is a roar of excitement and that he's found Sita. And they see Hanuman coming in full speed. He kind of does a safe landing without hurting anybody. And then everybody is jubilant, everybody is dancing, singing, Hanuman, you've done it. Kudos, congratulations, everybody sending WhatsApp messages, Hanuman has done it. So everybody is happy, embracing in Hanuman, they are patting him on his back, and Hanuman goes and does namaskar to Jambavan. Jambavan says, what happened? He says, yes, I have seen Sita, I have met her, and I also got something back from her. He says, tell me quickly what happened. Tell me everything that happened. So Hanuman briefly, not very detailed, briefly explains the entire thing from the flight till what happened and how we burnt Lanka and has come back. Everybody is happy and says, this is what we wanted, Hanuman. And Hanuman, if at all anybody in this entire world who could have done this, it is only you. So one has to understand. We started saying, somebody can jump 20 meters, somebody can jump 100 meters, can go 100 yojanas or whatever. It is not about jumping, it is not about even flying. Even if any of the Vanaras or Angad or Jambavan had the ability to fly and come back or whatever, flight was only 10 or 20% of the problem. 80% of the problem was there at Lanka, searching Sita, ability to tell the news in a manner that she doesn't get startled, ensuring that she gets comforted, ensuring that the news is conveyed to her properly and she is happy about it. The whole feat was managed, and that could have been only managed by Hanuman, nobody else could have managed. Even if Jambavan had the ability to fly, it is not about flight at all, right? And that is something we realized when we go across to Sundarkand. So now, they all say, now chalo, now let's not waste a single moment. Okay, I am already exceeded my time, it's already 8 o'clock. But as last time, give me some time, I will not take too much of a time, but this is a very beautiful parva and I would want to complete Sundarkand today. So I will cover this to as fast as possible, but as beautifully as possible within my limited capabilities. So now what they do is, now they are on their way back. As they are going back, as they are entering Kishkinda's boundaries, Sugriva has built a beautiful resort at the boundary, called Madhuvan. Nice garden with a resort house, some point of time he wants to go with his wives and children or whatever. So Hanuman knows that place. It's a secret place, but Hanuman knows this place. So he takes all the Vanars to that place and he's saying, eat whatever you want. Now if Hanuman did an 18-6 fasting, the Vanars have done a 24-hour fasting, right? They ate the previous afternoon and then they have been on beach, right? They have not even drank anything. On beach you get only salt water, right? So they have not done anything. Now the moment they enter this Madhuvan, Hanuman lets them go eat whatever. There, the caretaker, Sugriva has left his mama, his name is Dadimukha, okay? He has left him as a caretaker and he's upset. All these Vanaras are jumping, eating, squeezing apples and whatever, all the fruits and creating a mess in that entire garden. Hanuman allows them to spend their entire energy ensuring that all of their hunger is fed. He goes and meets this Dadimukha and says that we have come from Sugriva and the reason I did this is because we are on journey back and I got a great news. So Dadimukha is also pacified. No, but we are all not pacified. We as common people will have a question. Hanuman knows the level of urgency, right? Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva are waiting there to know about this about Sita. And here he takes an unwanted break to ensure that all the Vanaras are fed and they get enough to eat. Why did he do that? No, this is not just we get. This is a doubt that even Parashara Bhatta, the poet of the Vaishnava poet, his disciple also got it. So he asks, why is it that Hanuman wasted this time? They could have gone that much faster, right? So Parashara Bhatta says in one single answer, he says, he did this to save Rama's back. Otherwise his back would have got broken. Okay? And then Parashara Bhatta goes on to explain. He says, Vanaras, when they are excited, and when they want to share something and they want to congratulate, it seems what they do, they'll come and hug tightly and it seems pat the back. So imagine all the Vanaras, okay, will come and start patting Rama's back. Rama's back will get broken. And in that thought, Hanuman, it seems, ensured that they spend their energy in this Madhuvan so that they break all the trees there, but not Rama's back. Okay, this is what Parashara Bhatta as an explanation gives. Now, they enter Kishkinda. Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva are waiting. You have to now imagine, put yourself. Okay, now Rama and Lakshmana come back to main action. Okay, it's the end of Sundarkand. They have taken enough rest. Hanuman has finished his work. Rama and Lakshmana are back in the main scene. Now you have to imagine from Rama's perspective. Rama is waiting anxiously for now almost few months, right? He can hear a lot of commotion. As these people are coming, there is a lot of excitement and a lot of commotion that is happening. Now Rama understands that if there is commotion and this thing, it is probably happiness. But now look at it from his perspective. He knows there is happiness, but he doesn't know why these people are happy. Does it mean that they have met Sita? Does it mean that they only know something about Sita? Does it mean that they have seen Sita from a distance but not actually met? Does it mean that they think they have met Sita but they probably have met somebody else? Right? All of these doubts are going in Rama's mind. Right? Rama is anxious. He knows people are excited, but he's still not sure whether they are excited for the right reasons. Right? Whenever I come across this story, the first thing that I remember is a personal story. I'll not spend too much time on it. So what happened 25 years back, okay, this is a 25-year-old story. When my CF final exam results were announced, those days there was no online as results being announced, okay, you had to go to the institute and see there, and there used to be a typed letter posted onto the board and small fonts and about 100 and 150 students swarming on it and trying to see their number and name. I don't know whether you see your number, name or what. I was at home, results get announced. One of my friends called me and he says that you have passed both groups. Okay. Now, I don't know, my position was probably like Rama, okay, wrong to compare myself with Rama, but I'm just saying, now what is the thought that is going in my mind? I don't know whether he saw, how does he know my number? Exam number, examination number. Even if he's seen, whether he's seen it is both the groups or only one group or two groups. Has he read my name? I don't know anything. He's just told me that I've seen it and you have passed. I asked him 3 times. He says, yes, I've seen it. But unless and until I see it myself, I'm not going to get that comfort that he's seen the right name of the right person and the right marks and the right groups. Right? From that moment till I reached Cuff Parade, those days the institute was Cuff Parade, which is a good 1.5 hour journey. Me and my friend didn't speak a single word because we were tense, we were anxious. We don't know whether the result told to us were our own results or it was wrong. Whether I should be happy or no. Sometimes not knowing the results is okay, right? I lived for those months, right? Before exam, before results, after exam, we live, right? No problems. It is after getting a half-baked news that you become more anxious. Rama also had the same feeling. He's got a half-baked news. What? Those guys are excited, but he doesn't know why they're excited. The moment Hanuman, now this is very critical, okay? This is a part of the story which I love narrating. Now when Hanuman comes in sight of Rama, that's the first time Hanuman is seeing Rama after having left for his work. The moment he sees Rama, Hanuman shouts. He says, Drishta Sita. In Kambaramayan, he says, Kanden Sitaye, which means literally he's saying, saw Sita. Okay? Now Vyakhyankars spend minutes, maybe half an hour on what it actually means. This is what Hanuman, this is exactly what makes Hanuman. Why did he use the verb first? Why did he say Kanden Dekha Sita? Okay? Because Rama knows who are these guys gone to search or see. It is Sita, right? The amount of anxiousness that Rama has, if he had told Sita ko dekha or Sita I saw, he might even leave his life, he might even die immediately just listening to the word Sita, and then what? Did you see Sita? What? Sita is okay, Sita is dead. He didn't want to give even a single split second of anxiety to Rama. Hanuman says, Kanden Sitaye. He uses the verb first. I saw Sita. That is the way he ensures that he gives the news. This is what demarcates Hanuman and all of us. No excess unwanted stories, right? Only and only the message. The moment he says Kanden Sitaye or Drishta Sita, Rama slumps into his position. He's into his seat. He's saying, God, this is what I wanted to hear for all these months, right? And Hanuman comes, does namaskar, and he goes and stands in a corner. Now Rama is wanting to listen to the details. It is Jambavan who gives the first account of all the details because he is the eldest. Jambavan entirely gives the brief details. He is saying Hanuman went and then he saw Sita and then there was a meeting that happened. They exchanged things. He gave you a ring. He also got a proof. These are the discussions that have happened. Yes, he has met Sita and Sita only, and he has conveyed your message to her as well. Now, as Jambavan is talking to Rama, Hanuman is in a corner, standing there with his hands in a namaskar position, head bowed down. Rama is not even watching Jambavan. Rama is only looking at Hanuman with tears in his eyes. And Hanuman is looking at Ram. This is a beautiful moment where Rama is only looking at Hanuman, and Hanuman also acknowledges his sight and he looks back and is mentally saying in action, nothing because of me, it is all because of your Nama Prabhav. It is because of your name. And Rama is all appreciative in his eyes. It's like father seeing his son when he gets good marks. He doesn't have to say in words, right? It is evident in his face. Rama is seeing so happily towards Hanuman, and Hanuman also sees him. Now, after Jambavan finishes off his story, Rama turns, goes towards Hanuman. He holds him on his shoulder and he says, Hanuman, now tell me everything in detail. What is it that you did from the moment you left here? I want to listen to all the details as minute as possible. Give me the happiness of the story of you having searched Sita and what is it that Sita told. Tell me everything. Hanuman first from his pocket gets out the chudamani that he got from Sita, places it onto Rama's hand, and then he starts off. He says, so then he says, I went and I saw Sita. He says, I first went to the cave, then ensured that we went to Tirkurungudi. Okay, from there I took a flight from Mahendra Parvat. I met Sampati. Sampati told that Sita is at Lanka. Then Jambavan introduced me to myself. Then I climbed the Mahendra Parvat. Then I flew. Then I met Mainaka. Then Surasa. Then Sinhaka. Then Lankini. Then into the city. I saw the beautiful place. Then I went into the palace. I thought Mandodari was Sita. Then I corrected myself. I got dejected. Then I prayed for Sita. Then I went and sat on the tree. Then I found Sita. Then I met her. And then having met her, I exchanged notes with her. She gave me Chudamani. I gave the ring. then I felt hungry, then I ate, then I destroyed Ashokvan, then I killed a few Asuras, then I killed Ravana's son, then I got bound by Brahmastra, I went into Ravana's court, they bound me, they burnt my tail, I went out, I burnt entire Lanka in return, the return gift also given, then I met Sita, and then I flew back, and then I come here. What we heard now is the entire Sundarkand, right? Just as Ramayana got repeated in Sundarkand twice, Sundarakand itself gets repeated in Sundarakand and by Hanuman's account. Okay, very beautiful, yeah, and all the more auspicious. They say doing an entire Ramayana Parayan very good for house. Okay, so somebody can't do entire Ramayana Parayan, at least do Sundarakand Parayan. Very good for house. If you can't do even Sundarakand Parayan, do the Parayan of this scene where Hanuman narrates the entire Sundarakand. That also is enough, is what senior Pravachanakars say. So we've had the benefit of listening now the entire Ramayana, the Sundarakand, the two Ramayanas within that, and the repeat Sundarakand. So God bless us all for having listened to the entire Sundarakand. Rama listens to the entire thing. And now Rama, typical prince, right? And he's a king. So he searches on him and he says, oh my God, I don't have anything to give. Hanuman, you have done such a big work, such a huge service that you have done for me. What is it that I can give you in return? I am not even wearing any ornaments that I can give you. I know it is of no consequence. It's of no importance for you. He holds his hand like this tight and he says, Hanuman, I offer myself to you. And he hugs him tightly and he says, Hanuman, this is what I can give you. I can only give myself away to you. From now on, I am yours. You ask me to come anytime, anywhere, and I will ensure that I oblige that. This is what the famous stanza in Hanuman Chalisa, and one of the most emotional ones. It is so emotional, sometimes when I utter, I can't even utter without getting choked. It says, Raghupati kini bahuta badai, tuma mama priya bharata hi sama bhai. He says Raghupati is who? Rama is praising him. Raghupati kini bahuta badai, tuma mama priya bharat. You are as dear to me as Bharata, Hanumanta. Sahasa badana tumaro yashagave. Thousands of people will sing your glory. You know, you have done something that thousands of people will sing. Lakhs of people will sing. Asakahi Shripati kantha lagave. That's what Rama does. Rama tightly embraces Hanuman. Hanuman also tightly embraces with Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Marutin Namata Rakshasantakam. It seems Hanuman's eyes, when you talk of Rama, Bashpavari Paripurna, his eyes are always filled with tears. They're just waiting to come out. You know, Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam. Lochanam means eyes. Lochanam Marutin Namata Rakshasantakam. That's a stotra. This for me, okay, personally, at a very personal level, yes, as per Pravachankar's, Hanuman meeting Sita is considered to be the most beautiful and we did enjoy. But personally, for me, this particular scene where Rama himself offers himself to Hanuman, God, who's Rama? Rama is Ikshvaku, right? He's the clan of Ikshvaku. He is the avatar of Vishnu himself, the creator of this Prakriti, the sustainer of this Prakriti. God himself offering to his devotee and saying, now I am under your control and there is nothing else that I can offer, anything apart from me, saying that, and Rama embraces Hanuman. It is this same thing that Samartha Ramdas gets benefited. If you remember my story on Samartha Ramdas, first Hanuman gives him darshan and Samartha Ramdas says, who will give me the Ramanama Upadesh? He's saying Rama himself will give. He says, how will I get Rama darshan? Hanuman says, I will call Rama for you. And when he calls Rama, Rama comes. Why Rama comes? Because it is the boon that he gave in the end of Sundarakand, saying, Hanumanta, wherever you call me, ensure I'll be there. That's the promise that he lives even today. Now Rama is again asking Hanumanta, saying, tell me again everything in detail. Okay? So what we'll do is, we'll allow Rama and Hanuman to be in each other's company. Right? To revel in the devotee and the praise that the God has given to his devotee. Allow them to repeat amongst themselves for a while. Technically, Sundarakand ends over here. I'll just cover a few parts related to Sundarakand, which is very beautiful. Okay. Now what happens is, uh, from this moment, okay, Hanuman's introduction gets permanently changed. Okay, till now he was Vayuputra Hanuman, he was Kesari Nandan Hanuman, he was Sugriva Sachiv Hanuman, Anjani Sutta Hanuman, Ramaduta Hanuman also. But from this moment onwards, Hanuman becomes Rama Bhakta Hanuman. And then there is no other introduction ever required for Hanuman. He now becomes the devotee to his God. Kamba Ramayana covers this entire Sundarakand and relates it to the 5 elements. 5 elements is fire, water, earth, ether, water, fire, earth, ether, and what? Air. Okay? So he covers this, and in a poem in Tamil. I will try and narrate in English, but he covers it in Tamil, and a very beautiful Tamil poem it is. He says, son of one of the 5 flew over one of the 5, took the root of one of the 5, met the daughter of one of the 5, burnt Lanka by one of the 5, and came back. Okay, so all 5 elements get used up in Sundarakand. Son of 5 is who? Son of this 5 is Vayu's son. Flew over one of the 5, flew over water, took the root of sky, right? Met one of the 5's daughter, who? Earth's daughter. Sita is Earth's daughter. And then burnt Lanka by what? By fire. So he uses all 5 elements and describes. That's a poetic way of describing. It sounds more beautiful in its original language, true to any piece of poem, right? It sounds that much beautiful in that original language, but I thought I'll anyway describe, because that's the description that Kamba has given in his Ramayana. Finally, we've spoken of so much of Sundarakand, the benefit that you get, if there are graha klesh, which means there are fight in the family, if there is fighting between husband and wife, if there is any diseases, if there is a money problem, if there are any other problems, you think of Hanuman, think of Sundarakand, and it will resolve. The largest benefit that you get of listening to Sundarakand is this: what Rama himself offers to you, right? Like the way Rama offered himself to Hanuman, Rama himself, that is the largest gift that we can have, right, at any given point of time. So by listening to Sundarakand, let us, all of us, get the benefit. That is the prayer. Let all of us get all the benefits that we have: education, marriage, children, job, good job, health, wealth, prosperity, happiness, peace of mind, and Rama himself also in our life. That is the prayer with which I will end today's session and today's Sundarakand. I hope I was clear, and I hope also you all enjoyed it. From next week, it will be Yuddhakand. As I said, the killing part is something that I would not be covering in detail, but there are a lot of beautiful parts in Yuddhakand that needs to be covered and touched upon. I will cover on all of that, and then maybe in about 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe we might end up Ramayana. Thank you. Was I audible totally? Right. Excellent. So now we'll cover Hanuman Chalisa and close for the day. Haan. Oh, it is Agni, Vayu, Jambhu, that is water, Jal, Akash, and Bhumi. Fire, water, sky, earth, and air. Okay? Okay. We'll start with Hanuman Chalisa. Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Varanau Raghuvar Bimala Yashu Jodaya Kupalachari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumirau Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohe Haravu Klesha Vikar जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपी सति लोक उजागर
रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा
महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरण विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे, कांधे मूज जनेऊ साजे।
शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज
प्रताप महाजगबंदन, विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर, राम काज करिबे को आतुर। प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया, राम लखन सीता मन बसिया। सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा, विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा। भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे, रामचंद्र के काज संवारे। लाए सजीवन लखन जियाए, श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए।
रघुपति कीन्ही
बहुत बढ़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई। सहस बदन तुम यश गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। कादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद सारद सहित अहिसा। जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते,
कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते। तुम
कार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा, राम मिलाए राजपद दीना। तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना।
जुग सहस्र
प्रयोजन पर भानु, लील्योता ही मधुर फल जानु। प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि, जल दिलांग गए अचरज नाहि।
दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह
तुमरे ते राम दुआरे, तुम रखवारे।
होतन आज्ञा
बिनु पैसारे, सब सुख है तुम्हारी सरना। तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना, आपन तेज समारो आपे।
तीनों लोक हाँकते का
भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरै सब पीड़ा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा।
संकट
ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों जुग पर ताप तुम्हारा है, पर सिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो
रघुपति के दासा।
तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे। जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे, अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई। जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाय, और देवता चित्तन धरहि। हनुमत से सर्व सुख करहि, संकट कटे मिटै सब पीड़ा। जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलबीरा, जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई। कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई, ये शत बार पाठ कर कोई। छूटहि बंदी महासुख होई, जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा। होए सिद्धि साखी गौरी सा, तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा। कीजय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा, पवन तनय संकट हरन। मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित। हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की
जय।
के बोलो हनुमान की
जय।
धन्यवाद।